Elbows up.
Common Sense Loonie, that's my tune. Bringing truth to the red and white moon.
Personally, I am a man.
Here we go again, folks. It's Common Sense Loonie, and we're covering the last day of question period for the week, and other news as well. I'm Rex, your resident loony. So if you're new to question period, typically Friday is the meh day. Not much happens. A lot of MPs don't show up, and it's a lot quieter than the rest of the week. That's partially true of this session. It was quieter, and there were a lot of empty seats. But there were some somewhat shocking moments, so we'll be covering that. Okay, before we get started with that, we have some news. So, just 6 months after being sworn in as Canada's Minister of Transport on March 14th, Chrystia Freeland has stepped down from Cabinet. We covered that a couple episodes ago. In a surprise announcement on September 16th, she revealed she's accepting a new role as Canada's Special Representative for Reconstruction of the Ukraine. But she'll still remain a backbench MP for Toronto Centre, and she's signaling she won't seek re-election. This move caps a turbulent year for Freeland, who dramatically quit as finance minister in December amid clashes with then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over fiscal policy. On the surface, heading to the Ukraine sounds noble. Freeland's long championed for the country's cause since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, drawing on her own Ukrainian heritage. But critics are raising eyebrows. For one, her record on transport. It barely got off the ground. In just half a year, there's no record of major initiatives, no sweeping rail reforms, no bold infrastructure overhauls, nothing to suggest she left a mark on Canada's creaky transport system. And let's be real here. Trading a high-profile cabinet seat for a diplomatic envoy gig? That's a step down in domestic power. But get this, the real stink? It hit the fan this past week with explosive revelations about a $1 billion BC Ferry deal with a Chinese state-owned shipyard.
Built in 1964, the Queen of New Westminster is one of 4 ships BC Ferries has contracted Chinese shipbuilder CMI Weihai Shipyards to replace. A decision that has upset some people, including the Federal Minister of Transportation. In a letter to BC Transportation Minister Mike Farnworth, Chrystia Freeland says she is dismayed that BC Ferries would select a Chinese state-owned shipyard given the current geopolitical climate and recent tariffs from China.
We covered that a while back. Back in June, Freeland slammed the contract for 4 electric diesel vessels, calling herself dismayed by the decision to outsource to China amid national security concerns. She insisted the federal government had zero involvement, no funding, no oversight, hands completely clean. Now, enter the leaked emails and documents, courtesy of opposition MPs and Globe and Mail.
Transport Canada was made aware of 6 weeks before that announcement, and they did nothing to protect Canadian jobs. They just sat on their hands and let it proceed. They didn't act to secure those contracts. They didn't push back at it. This raises a number of questions about former Minister Chrystia Freeland's abrupt resignation and blows a hole in her narrative.
Turns out Transport Canada was looped in on the deal weeks before Freeland's public outrage, complete with memos about federal subsidies. And even worse, the Canada Infrastructure Bank, a federal crown corporation under Freeland's old finance umbrella, quietly greenlit $500 million in finance to the Chinese contractor for the very ships she decried. Conservative MP Diane Elvis called it a direct contradiction, accusing her of lying to Parliament. Now she's been hauled back to testify before the Transport Committee, where BC Premier David Eby, who Freeland tried to throw under the bus for this, is demanding answers on the unfairness to Canadian workers. Coincidence? Her resignation drops days after these documents surface, just as the heat turns up. Freeland's no stranger to controversy. Remember her 2024 finance fiasco, or the SNC Lavalin echoes from her early days. This Ukraine pivot feels less like a passion project and more like a soft landing. Out of the Commons grillings, into international obscurity where accountability is a whisper. Is she dodging the fallout from yet another Liberal mess? One that reeks of hypocrisy on China while Canadian shipyards gather dust? The timing screams yes. If Freeland's track record teaches us anything, it's that when the spotlight scorches, she dims the lights and slips away. All right, let's move on, folks. Remember back in a previous episode when I called it? Called what, Rex? Well, I said this whole push under Carney for hate crime laws was just the opening act, a sneaky precursor to clamping down on online hate speech, which is really code for government censorship. Well, guess what? The next move is officially on the table. Justice Minister Fraser just dropped Bill C-9, the so-called Combating Hate Act, and it's got that familiar whiff of overreach.
We are moving forward with a piece of legislation that will create 4 new criminal offenses. The first 2 are aimed at protecting religious institutions with the new crimes of obstruction and intimidation. This will ensure those who gather to practice their faith at religious institutions, schools, community centers, and other buildings and structures that primarily serve identifiable communities will have the ability to do so freely and without fear that they will be targeted because of who they are. We are moving forward with establishing a new crime of hate. This will operate by layering on top of existing criminal offenses with a new offense that will specifically target hate where that crime was committed because of their motivation of hatred towards the victim. In addition to the crimes of obstruction, intimidation, and hate, we are also moving forward with an additional offense of the willful promotion of hate through the use of hate symbols. Specifically enumerated will be particular symbols associated with a period of history involving Nazis' discrimination against Jews and the targeting of Jews in the Holocaust, as well as the symbols specifically tied to listed terror organizations.
Now, on the surface, the bill doesn't dive straight into social media regulation. It's focused on physical stuff, like criminalizing intimidation or blocking access to places of worship, schools, and community centers for identifiable groups. There's also a new offense for displaying hate symbols in public to promote hatred, with exemptions for art or journalism. And it amps up the penalty for any crime motivated by hate, while at the same time getting rid of the need for Attorney General approval on hate propaganda charges under Section 319 of the Criminal Code. But that's where it gets slippery. The removal of AG oversight. It makes it way easier to prosecute online statements that willfully promote hatred. We're talking social media posts, videos, memes, basically England, anything digital that could be twisted as inciting hate. And that hate symbols ban? Public display isn't limited to the real world. Courts could easily apply it to online shares, giving the feds a tighter grip on what platforms allow without facing legal heat. So, what's next? Just wait for it. Watch for them to sneak in mandates forcing social media companies to monitor and report hate content, or even revive elements of the scrapped Online Harms Act, like fining platforms that don't censor fast enough. Fraser's already teasing more online reforms soon. The more control the government seizes on media, online or off, the more it dictates the messaging, and ultimately the people. As Marshall McLuhan once said, the medium is the message. Don't let them rewrite yours. Okay, let's get on to this question period. Like I said, just lots of empty seats and even Poilievre's not there. So we start off today with Melissa Lansman.
Crime policy, violent crime is up 50%, sexual assaults up 75%, gun crime up 116%. Just about everybody in this country is demanding bail reform, and yet the Liberals block it at every turn. Every single day, they delay. More rapists, gangsters, and repeat offenders are dumped back on our streets to victimize innocent Canadians. Why are the Liberals obstructing, fixing the broken bail system, and choosing to shield dangerous criminals rather than protecting Canadian families? Why don't they do something about it today?
All right, Melissa brings up some good points. I don't think she hits hard enough, in my opinion. It's true, violent crimes are up 50%, sexual assaults 75%, and gun crime 116% under Liberal policies. But I think she really needed to hammer down the fact that they keep saying they're going to do something, and nothing has been done. Each day costs lives. And now, let the dumbness begin. Here's our Justice Minister, Fraser.
Mr. Speaker, we agree that we need to take action to ensure that violent repeat offenders are not left on our streets. However, it's curious the strategy that the Conservatives have chosen. The law that they are putting forward now has been shown to be a failure in every jurisdiction in which it is tried. It is a theory that has come directly out of the United States. I don't know if the opposition was paying attention during the recent election campaign, but Canadians very much want laws to be developed in Canada. Mr. Speaker, this is Canada, not the United States, and my citizens who I represent from Central Nova would very much like to keep it that way.
Fraser's dismissal of the Conservative three-strike proposal as a failed American import is categorically false. The Conservative plan is tailored to deny bail, parole, probation, or house arrest only after 3 convictions for serious violent offenses. The three strikes plan in the U.S. mandates life sentences for any third felony, including non-violent ones like petty theft, which leads to prison overcrowding and disproportionate punishments. And Fraser's bellowing that bail reform must be made in Canada and not a copy of a failed U.S. policy like 3 strikes. It's so completely frustrating because it leans on tired anti-American rhetoric that liberals often use to dodge accountability and score political points. This tactic, painting U.S. solutions as inherently flawed while touting Canadian superiority, it ignores the fact that Canada's violent crime is still surging, and their delays on bail reform just keep repeat offenders on the street. Recent polls show that Canadians are less swayed by this anti-American posturing, with concerns like crime, housing, and inflation now overshadowing fears of U.S. tariffs or influence. Basically, when the Liberals say made in Canada, it really means, yeah, we don't know. We don't have any solutions. Sorry. So yeah, the Conservative proposal addresses repeat violent criminals without the U.S. pitfalls of excessive incarceration for minor crimes. And by doing that, it actually makes it a customized made-in-Canada solution that Fraser hypocritically ignores. His argument is stupid, as it relies on a straw man comparison, rejecting common sense reforms by having endless expensive consultations while violent crime surges under Liberal policies. All right, next up. Remember earlier when I said there were a few shockers in this question period? Here's one of them.
Prime Minister was in Mexico this week, and when Mexico decided to get serious about its border, it deployed 10,000 new personnel in a matter of days. At the same time, the Prime Minister promised Canadians that he would hire 1,000 new border officers. So a very simple question to the Minister of Public Safety. How many officers have been hired and are deployed today?
Conservative Jacob Mantle of York, Durham makes a good point and asks a pretty simple question. Mexico bent over backwards to secure a deal with America. One of the first things it did was securing the border with 1,000 additional troops. Of course, Canada followed suit, as they should have. On May 2nd, Mark Carney announced what actions Canada would take to strengthen the border. Here's a refresher if you forgot.
We'll strengthen our border security with 1,000 more CBSA officers, as well as scores of dog teams, drones, and scanners to fight the traffic of guns and drugs.
So now, what was the question? Oh, yeah, the question was, how many officers have been hired and deployed to the border?
Mr. Speaker, we are hiring 1,000 new officers for CBSA and new RCMP officers. We are going to see a drastic decrease in illegal firearms and fentanyl exports, and we will soon have all the necessary personnel to complete this work.
Member for York Durham.
I didn't hear an answer there.
Mr. Speaker, in all of that, I didn't hear a number, but let me give him the number because the information disclosed to this House by the Canada Border Services Agency says that the Liberals have hired 0 new officers. Oh. And it gets worse. It's worse. Not only have they not hired any officers, they don't even have a plan to hire any officers. So my question again is, when will they hire the border officers?
0 officers? They've hired 0? And they don't have a plan to hire more? You've got some explaining to do.
Mr. Speaker, not only are we hiring more than 1,000 officers, we're also adding helicopters, drone, and other equipment. We're taking action and making more arrests and finding more drugs. So it is working, Mr. Speaker. And in 2 weeks, and we will see a graduation of new officers that will be helping out CBSA.
He says it's working. What's working? You haven't done anything. How can you say the plan is working when nothing's been done? Give me a break. Well, the Liberals are not disappointing on being the party of inaction. Now we move into another shocker. It may not be so shocking for you at first, but once I explain it, I think you'll get the gist.
Mr. Speaker, nothing's too good for the monarchy. The Governor General, once again, charged taxpayers $1,117 for shoes last year, $1,117 on shoes, and almost $7,500 on clothing. While Quebecers are talking to us about grocery prices, trying to explain to them that they have to pay for high heels for a monarch who earns $400,000 a year while they're facing inflation is tough. Mr. Speaker, the Governor General, like like all of her predecessors, has a compulsive shopping problem. When will the government take away her credit cards?
Now, if you think about spending of the Liberal government, $1,100 for shoes, $7,500 for clothing, $400K salary, sounds like peanuts, right? I mean, it's the Governor General, and she has a very important role, right? Trivia time. Can anyone guess what the duties of the Governor General are? I'll answer that one after the Liberal response.
Mr. Speaker, the Governor General has understood the important work that she has to do both in Canada and abroad. The annual budget was approved by the Parliament, and expenses are public for her function. We know that Canadians expect all public spending to be used judiciously, and this is a question that our government takes seriously, and we hope a woman can decide what she'd like to buy.
Yes, the important role of the Governor General. Here's her duties. First, she's the official representative of the King of England. So basically, she has meetings with the King. 2, presides over ceremonies. Okay. 3, summons, prorogues, or dissolves Parliament and appoints the Prime Minister and other officials. All right. Engages with communities to foster Canadian identities. What does that even mean? Promotes national unity. Yeah, great job.
Here we go. Mark Carney's office, Wellington Street, has been entirely taken by climate activists.
And she hosts foreign dignitaries. Okay, my question. Why do we need a Governor General? All of these duties could easily be appointed to other members. $400K for basically answering to England? Sounds like we're still in a monarchy. All hail the king?
Mr. Speaker, the other ministers don't spend thousands of dollars like that. Perhaps $100, but not thousands. Yet, she has an annual salary of $400,000 a year. Can she buy her own shoes? This reminds us that in 2023-2024 alone, the position of Governor General and all her royal entourage cost taxpayers, hold on to your hats, $59 million. $59 million wasted in 1 year to provide a luxurious lifestyle for a symbol that could be replaced by a stamp. $59 million wasted on a symbol of the domination of the people by foreign sovereigns. When will we stop this?
The best line there was that the Governor General is a symbol that could easily be replaced by a stamp. Unbelievable. I thought Canada wasn't for sale. Sure sounds like we're still owned by England. Anyways, those are my takeaways for this question period. I feel like we got more questions than answers. Empty border promises, censorship dressed up as hate laws, Freeland's shady exit, and a Governor General blowing millions on shoes while you can't afford apples. The Liberals dodge, deflect, and delay, all while crimes spike, borders leak, and your taxes vanish into their pet projects. Common sense says it's time for accountability. Pass the 3 strikes bill, secure our borders, and stop wasting money on royal frills. I'm Rex, and this is Common Sense Loonie. Join me next time to keep calling out the madness and fighting for a Canada that works for you. All right, everybody, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and as always, stay loony.
I'm here to cut through the haze, no disguise. Gonna open your eyes to politicians' lies. Canada's great, but led by wackos, it's true. Time for no nonsense, me and you. I'm the Common Sense Loonie, hear my call. Ditch bingo night games, we'll fix it all. Common Sense Loonie, that's my tune. Bringing truth to the red and white moon.
Personally, I am a man.